2.
Hey, I'm your host, BKP, and we're back, and we're at Sycamore Crossing in beautiful downtown Blue Ridge. We've got the Broken Bull, the new Blue Home and Gift, Kinty, the Peruvian store, Tupelo Tea, Sycamore Crossing. What a beautiful place downtown. Nice and cool this morning, but a great Friday morning means it's time for high school football tonight. Our world travelers, if you remember these guys have been gone so long, do you recognize these guys? We have Bruce and Rick.
Fire and Fury.
How you doing, guys?
Really good.
Good.
Are you?
How you been?
You glad to be back in the States?
Yes. Yes.
Did you enjoy your trip?
We did. I did. My wife did. I know the Contis did.
Yep. But after living out of a suitcase for 3 weeks, you know, you kind of just gotta get it all back in the wardrobe.
So,
By the way, how's my hair?
yeah, all right, don't start. Don't start.
How's my hair?
Huh?
How's my hair?
Yeah, leave. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
I do need a haircut. I need a haircut.
Huh?
Can I borrow your? Could you carry a comb?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I just checking.
Oh, I'm a brush guy. Brush only.
I have a hairbrush and I have a comb. There's
Yep.
brush over here and comb.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I go both.
I'm kind of like you, though. I think I need a haircut. I'm getting shaggy.
All right, you're
Been gone for a while.
yeah, okay. Didn't want to go to a foreign barber.
No.
I don't speak the language. Oh, that's what I thought you asked.
I thought you said mohawk.
Yeah, razor cut. No.
Okay, so
Here we go.
let's start here. I think this is the top story of the day. You ready?
Yes.
Cleveland Indians have won 22 straight games.
And they still don't have the best record in
yes,
baseball.
exactly. That's the top story. Do you keep waiting for Vaughn to come out of the bullpen?
Just a bit outside.
every time I hear Cleveland Indians, I'm like, wow, I've been seeing the crowd cheer for Wild Thing to come out, and Ricky Vaughn.
Throw him the heater, Ricky.
Give him the heater, Ricky. 22 straight wins. I like my baseball.
Baseball's getting exciting. It's heating up a little bit,
Uh,
right?
You know, home run, I like, you know, when they're knocking it out of the park. But when I hear, like, home runs, yeah, that's one thing. And I hear some other records. But when you've won 22 straight, you're playing some good baseball.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
you're playing some good
Well,
baseball.
you got a little luck in there.
You're playing
too.
as a team.
You got a little luck in there.
Huh?
You can't be 22-0 without a little luck here and there.
Yeah, a little luck. That's all right. A little
Forgive
luck.
me.
So,
And then the other end of the spectrum, you know, the Dodgers doing so well, then they lost, what, 15 out of 16? Mm-hmm. So,
But they still have more wins than the Indians do.
yeah, it's a long season.
Yeah.
long
What,
season.
162 games?
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Staying on baseball for just a second, we will get to
We
Democrats.
got the cheaters in Boston.
There you go. That's the next
Got the
subject.
cheaters
What do
in
you think?
Boston.
What do you think?
Huh?
What do you think?
Well,
Stealing signs, electronic. Come on,
Ste-
don't give me that.
stealing
Spit it out.
signs is as old as baseball is. However,
All right.
when there's specific rules that you can't do it electronically, that's a different story, I think. You know, or do you resort to any means you can to cheat? I think maybe that's what they do in NASCAR. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying hard enough, right? I don't know.
Okay.
Well.
Okay. Whoa. So you're saying they have rules in place that you're not supposed to electronically.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't have someone sitting in the clubhouse electronically relaying stuff back to the dugout, and they're all sitting there with their Apple Watches on, and then you know, giving them the high hard one, and they know what's coming.
Can you do that again?
The
All right, I
high
just
hard
want to see.
one.
I want to see if you can do it. I just want to see if you can do that twice.
Sure, I can do it 3 times.
No, that wasn't necessary. All right. Well, I'll tell you what.
Ask Richie. I mean, he's been behind the
All right,
dish
what do you
enough.
think, Richie?
He's been behind the dish enough. He knows the drill.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, in between pitches, especially if there was runner on base, I looked at the third base coach the entire game by the 7th
Right.
inning. I knew if he was given a sign to steal,
Yeah.
Right.
especially in a series.
But you
That's
knew
the
it.
that's the
You were
old-fashioned way,
you
though.
were picking up the signs.
That's the old-fashioned
Right,
way.
but I think it's such a common thing that it's just natural, especially in Major League Baseball now. You have a member of the coaching staff in the clubhouse checking the review board, like, you know, because they have instant replay now. So,
Right.
So, I mean, what else does that guy have to do the whole game?
Well, let me put it like this. Okay, good
But
conversation.
I agree with you, though.
We'll get
It's-
to Democrats in a minute. So I'm with you on that. So you're right, but you know I go to high school baseball games, and the guy that goes to the corner of the dugout and sits on the bucket, and he's going like this, he's going like this, and the catcher's over there looking in the dugout. Half of your job on the other side is to try to pick up their signs. I mean, to me, that's part of baseball.
It's part of baseball.
Try to figure out when they're going to steal.
Yeah.
When the guy gives.
Yeah, exactly.
The guy gives 2 of these, and and then goes, and, one of those. The guy does. Would you stop it? So we're stealing signs. And you guys.
Are we in the wrong season? I mean, should we be talking football? Baseball. It's
No. But then take everything electronically out of the game. Everything. Don't allow the TVs in the dugout, because they're up there. They're up there and they're hitting instant replay right there in the dugout. Take every piece of electronic device out of the game. Take it out of the TV where they framed in and you could see what the pitch was on the corner. Take the umpire helmet cam off. Take the instant replay off. Let the umpire blow the damn play and just go on.
The electronic scoreboard, throw that away.
Not that. Oh yeah, we could have the guy behind there sliding down the. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Puts the guy back to work.
Just like Wrigley.
Bruce, either add something constructive to the.
I'm not a baseball guy. Let's talk about soccer.
All right, we will. Well, you with me? Take everything out, because I'm not okay that they steal the signs electronically, especially it's Boston stealing. I'm not okay.
And
with
they did it
but-
against the Yankees.
Right.
I'm just saying. That's
Just
what they
saying.
got
And
caught.
didn't something happen this week about like an umpire got knocked down or something by some team, and the other team said they did it on purpose? And I saw something on that. But
All right,
never mind.
moving along.
Moving right along.
I know you guys have been traveling, and I'm glad you're home. And you brought so many documents. Should we
I
like
bring
to
that
do
all
a
the
whole
time.
segment? And you got documents?
That's
you
just
wanna
coal
start?
full.
No, that's
That
what
goes
I
with you,
that's
right?
what I end up with.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, my
All
closing
right,
thought.
Trump making deals with Democrats, Chuck and Nancy, eating dinner with them, macaroni and cheese. I don't know what they're doing. What do you think of all that?
Wait, this happened while we were away?
Yes.
Trump's a Democrat now.
No.
What do you think? Just give me your general.
Jump the
You
shark.
got the floor. What do you think?
Okay, I'm gonna go back to Rush's show yesterday when he had a caller, and I immediately flashed on you and flashed on Frank, I think. She called in and she said, "I'm telling you, the guy is 3 moves ahead of the competition. He's got them in there for a reason. He's setting something up." And all I could flash on was he's playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. I don't know if that's the case, but there's someone else out there that is calling in and getting through to Rush and saying the same thing. Does that ring true to you? Does that? I mean, I haven't extrapolated it any further to say, okay, where would he go with this, and why is he meeting with them other than to put pressure on the GOP, which he obviously has through their reaction. So, that's kind of my take at this point. I don't know if he's setting all of these pieces in place to pull off the grand end game.
So how concerned are you with him meeting with them and apparently making some of these deals? How do you feel about that, Bruce?
Well, again, I haven't been obviously very close to what he's been saying and the outcomes of these, but yeah, I mean, if he's a deal guy, so I mean, if
you know when you go on a trip, you're still supposed to pay attention.
No.
Okay.
If you can't get results here by pushing here, you go over here and you try this. So I think he's just like Rick said, trying to find a chink in the armor to get something moving and done.
His end game is
Results.
put my agenda in place. I don't care how we get there, just get it done. And I think that's maybe why he's going to what some would say would be the dark side.
Well, okay. What about the Dreamers? DACA.
DACA.
Why did I say DACA? There's no DRA. I always say that. DACA. What about the Dreamers? DACA.
What about him?
What do you think? What do you think about him bringing Chuck and Nancy in? what do you think about DACA?
Well, he basically
BKB says everyone
reversed
calls it DACA.
Obama's ruling and basically said to the Congress, you got 6 months to make this, more reasonable or sensible. I think it's a good move.
Yeah, but he made him. He supposedly has a deal with Chuck and Nancy. What do you think?
He
Well, he
supposedly.
refuted that.
He's all over the board with it. I will say this: he's all over the board with it. I mean,
The master of
one
perception.
One tweet, he's got a great deal, and it's going to be good for all Americans. And how do you want to kick out all of these kids that are educated and bright and have jobs? And then on the next tweet, no, I never said amnesty. What do you think we do? Let's forget about Trump.
I thought he concentrated more on, no, I'm still going to build the wall. Some came out and said that he caved on the wall to get a little bit of pushback.
But when is he going to build the? When is he going to? Is he going to continue to lose his leverage to get the funding he wants to build this wall?
Well, that's the $64,000 question. You're right.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of background stories going on in terms of getting the funding, somehow in this bill or that bill or tacking it into the budget or something. So I think he's working on it. But, again, some of the
They're already
GOP.
working on it. They're
Yeah, the
already working
GOP,
on
hasn't
repair
really
and
been that
replace.
helpful. They seem to be looking for an all-in, very inclusive solution. And I think, it's going to be bits and pieces. It's not going to be a total comprehensive thing.
I think it was brilliant that Jeff Sessions, I think this is the way it worked, he basically talked him into, hey, throw it back to the lawmakers and give them 6 months. So now they're on a March 1 TikTok to get immigration reform bipartisan back online.
All right, so let's drill it down to not what took place in the last week. We know President Donald Trump had dinner. Chinese food was the menu. My understanding. No, it's my understanding. What was so funny?
You could have had Korean food.
I know Chinese was the menu. I think it's important. to
Were
put
chopsticks used?
That's what I was getting at. We want to know. That's what I was saying. Was it kung pao chicken or was it, what was it? Lo mein or fried rice? I want to hear preferences. Anyhow, they had dinner. Nancy's there. Nancy is there, and Chuck is there, and
Is it true she put the boys in their place?
that's what I'm hearing.
Told them to zip it?
That's what I'm hearing. But then again, so they're there. They have dinner, and they come out, and they're smiling from ear to ear, and they've got a deal on DACA, and Schumer runs to the camera, and him and Nancy say they've rolled the president, and they've got a great deal. Let's forget all of that. What do you do? What is your solution? Now, in 2012, let's put it like this: President Barack Obama. Let's be clear. President Barack Obama signed an executive order, which was an overreach in his office, but he created immigration policy. So, DACA. What's the acronym for again?
DACA.
DACA. Where do I get the A from? Where do I get the DACA? Where do I get the extra A? What's the acronym again for? Deferred action. Whatever. So
What it basically does is it sets the parameters for all of the 800,000 that are here illegally that were brought by their parents,
Right.
that are under the age of 31 as of
Exactly. All right.
June 12th, 2007, or 2012, excuse me.
right.
They have to have a college education. They have to be honorably discharged. They
Right.
have to have a high school education. Or let's see, what are some of the other parameters? I can't remember them all, but that kind of gives you the gist of it. And they have to go back and they have to apply every 2 years to keep their status. And if now they're not accepting those anymore. They're not accepting any of those deferments anymore.
So what we're setting up is in 2012, President Barack Obama actually, through executive order, created immigration policy, which this branch cannot do. And what President Trump is saying, I'm ending that, but I'm going to make the legislative body, the actual process that's supposed to work.
Right.
If your lawmakers say they're going to do it, those are your lawmakers,
Yep.
and you can vote for them back home, whether you like their decision or
Yep,
not.
absolutely.
Right? So that's
Yeah.
what he's going to do. He's going to kick it back there. So all that said, Rose, do you have something on social media or something?
I sure do.
What? Check my text. I don't have. Where's my phone at?
Right here.
Oh, I got a couple of them.
Who knew?
Deferred action for childhood arrival.
Yeah. Deferred action for childhood arrival. Is that my phone? Can you get
Maybe.
Get my phone for me there, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Vanna.
You turn those letters very well.
Thank you. Glad I could help.
I thought he was talking
All right,
about
I
me.
gotta check the text. She said to check the text. We have something. Okay. Which one? The Trump.
4 minutes ago.
All right, the one that says chain migration cannot be allowed to be part of any legislation on immigration.
That's it?
Chain migration.
Yeah, chain migration cannot be allowed to be a part of any legislation on immigration, and that was the RAISE Act, and that is what our Senator David Perdue said with the RAISE Act. This chain, somebody gets in, and now there's a chain that comes in. Okay, I want to get to my question. Thank you, Rose. I want to get to my question when we framed all that up. What does Bruce do? What's your opinion? What's your opinion of what you do legislatively for, let's say, these kids? Let's put it like that. And what do you do?
Well, can you clarify for me? The 800,000 kids were born here, or they were brought here?
Brought over.
They were brought here.
Brought
So
here.
none of them were born here.
No,
Because-
we're not talking about naturalized citizenship.
Okay,
I'm not talking about that.
I just wanted
Talking
to be
about
sure.
the Dreamer Act.
The Dreamers.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure. You put them in a box, you label them, and they have special requirements to go through to become citizens.
Put them in a box. Do you poke a hole so they can breathe?
Yes, of course.
That was a metaphor.
Yes.
I understood it, but I was just like I was getting a visual. Get in the box. Get in the box.
They get a card that's got some stamp or color or something on it that identifies them as dreamers.
You do let them stay.
Yeah, and you work out some program where they can qualify for citizenship.
You do that.
Yes, I
Okay.
would.
And you?
I would modify that one way, and I would
We're sending it into conference committee. This is how the process
This is
works.
how the process
He's
is
put it
supposed to
out.
work.
It's going into conference.
Yeah, I think the Democrats are looking for more votes, and that's their whole purpose. So let's just say, okay, you can stay, but you can't vote. We're going to let you stay. We're going to give you your work permits. You're going to have a process that you go through to be here legally, but you know what? You can't vote for 15 years until the swamp is cleaned or until the current. I'd tie some voting.
Okay.
The Dems will never go for that.
That's
They'll
my
go
point.
crazy.
See,
They'll
that's their
go
whole point.
crazy.
They're
Okay,
looking
but
for
you let them
votes.
stay?
I think it's very, very difficult at this point in time to just ship 800,000. You've got to round them up first. That's going to be difficult.
Okay, you
in
put
and
them
of
in a
itself.
box, and now I have a vision
Yeah,
of
you
a
got to
roundup.
catch them first before you put them in.
And they're not going to leave without their families.
Yeah.
So it's not
Yeah.
800,000.
Yeah.
It's a multiple of 800. 'Cause
Right.
They're not going to leave without their
So
family.
exactly. So we have
So you're
chain
talking in the millions.
migration.
You're talking in the
right?
Chain,
millions.
chain,
Yeah.
chain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's over 3
So
million.
put some stipulations.
Yep.
You know, if they're here,
I will say this.
if they're contributing to society, paying taxes, put some stipulations to get in line just like everybody else is doing it legally, and go through the process.
I think one of the concerns here is obviously the media is going to turn this into the cruelty
Oh, yeah.
of us ripping children and us doing this to these kids, and they're productive members of society, but they don't tell the whole story that, okay, once we do something legislatively for 800,000, and what we do not talk about is how many of the 800,000 rushed in here that actually have criminal offenses or in a gang, but they ran and signed up for the DACA because they could, right?
Yep.
So they did that. So out of the 800,000, how many are legitimately, it should be recipients of the program? So try to frame it to where it's,
Well, maybe that's the first domino when
And-
you're
and then
standing
it's-
in line.
and then
you got to make sure
you got to have a
make
list.
sure
You
that
got to
all
have
of
a
the
criteria.
qualifications
Yes,
are met.
absolutely. Then second, what the media will not talk about is the attachments, meaning Uncle Jose. Okay, Aunt Marielle. I mean, seriously, and that's not a joke. I'm not using, but the attachments is what, because watch and see what they will write. They'll write a piece of legislation that has chain migration, and that's what he's talking about this morning, chain migration. They'll have a piece of legislation. So what they're saying, when you hear 800,000, you're hearing about 3.5 million.
Just like the chain on the temporary ban on immigration.
Right.
They put the chain on that. Uncles, aunts,
That's why,
grandmothers.
That's why they
Second,
that's
third
why-
cousins.
That's why the media that I despise goes with separating families, tearing families apart. Tearing families apart. I'm your host, BKP. We're going to come back. What do you guys think of Steve Bannon's 60-minute interview? You didn't watch it? Darn, I'll have to tell you all about it right after these messages.